my first professional job, and I had this curse. I would go into restaurants, and I'd have to look at the menu, and I'd smell the ink, and I'd check out the type style, and I always thought that was kind of weird. But I think James had the same curse. I really wonder if he could watch a movie and just enjoy it, because he always was so in tune to like what Mike was talking about, how well the film was made, whether we could have done a better job, or I'm hoping he could put the technical side to the side a bit and enjoy the film. But that's what made James so great, is that he did worry about every little bit of the film. And speaking of film, those of you who are local, Wednesday, June 14th at 7:30 at night, we're going to show Behind the Door. Showing a full-length film tonight was kind of not probably the appropriate thing, but to fully celebrate James Cozart, you have to show movies. And so we're going to show Behind the Door, which was one of his long-term and last efforts. We recently showed Get Your Man, which was one of his more recent efforts too. So June 14th, keep that in mind, and come back, and we'll continue a bit of the remembrance of James at that time. One of my last interactions with James was he came into my office and he wanted to get some scans. The Countess of Monte Cristo, and I can't remember the names of the other movies, but he was preparing for Capital Fest, which is one of the number of festivals that Cynthia and James attends. And so we got those orders in, and we're going to make sure that the programs that James has put together for Capital Fest still go on. And I think that's really one of those things you can say about someone like James is, I'm getting a little bit older. I worry a little bit about my mortality, and someone like James has really truly reached immortality, because as Mike said, for centuries from now, people will watch a film, and in a great part due to James Cozart. So, isn't that immortality? Isn't that just taking your passion, your love, your effort, and just transferring that to generations of people? And I really just think that that's kind of what I would say about James, is that his labors went for good, and that his efforts were not in vain, that we will benefit from his efforts for many, many years to come.
All right, and I could talk a lot more about James and the work he did here, but others are going to do that too. So I want to talk about this rock and roll story. But I will say, Mike, that I love that you read part of that report, because it reminded me so vividly back in Ohio that those voluminous reports earned James the nickname Mr. Tact. But they're great, and they are very important, and I'm glad that we are keeping those, or we are preserving those reports. But anyways, James and I had a lot in common. We both liked old machinery, phonographs, televisions, radio, besides movies. And we would, when we had a chance, he would tell me about some of the things he did in his past. And he talked about working at the radio shop, I guess it was in Dyersburg, I think, when he was a kid, probably in high school. And the best, this story, I've never forgotten this story because it's just so vivid. And I can see it happening to him. Jerry Lee Lewis was coming to town to do a concert. So this is mid-50s. And at that time, a lot of the radio and TV shops in the different towns would rent out public address systems for concerts and things that were going on in the town. And so the place where James worked got hired to put up a PA system for Jerry Lee. And because they knew it was going to be there were going to be a lot of people, and they wanted to make sure everybody could hear it, they hired another TV and radio shop in Dyersburg to also bring their PA system. So James told me he got, and again, I can see him do this. He got there early, and he was measuring everything out, and he's getting his stuff set up, and he's got the microphone set up, and he's got the speakers placed, and he's got everything wired, he's got everything tied down, and he drives a big metal stake in the ground, and he puts his ground on it, and he tightens it down, make sure everything is perfect. Everything is just like it's supposed to be. And the other guy comes, and he sets up his system, but he doesn't ground it. Oh. So the concert gets going, and if any of you have seen Jerry Lee in his earlier days, you know how active he was. And James said, Jerry Lee's in the middle of the song, and he leaps up from his piano, and he reaches over, and he grabs both microphone stands, the grounded one and the ungrounded one, and he goes, and finally he's able to let go of them, and kicks James's microphone stand off the podium. So just again to prove, no good deed goes unpunished. But I remember James telling me that, and we just laughed about that, and it's just such a, for him to remember that and to share it with me was just so delightful. And he's really going to be missed up in the Nitrate Vaults because he was a visitor, a weekly visitor up there, and every time he came, we learned something new. And I've begun to realize that I like to refer to us as masters of the arcane. We have to keep all this extra knowledge floating around because you never know when you're going to need it. But James was the wizard of the arcane. I mean, I don't know where he kept all this information. We'd find some little fiddly bit about film that, some company made 2 films, and, 4 hours later he'd come down with like an entire list of the films they made, plus notes, plus an email that he wrote in 1986. I'm like, I don't even have my emails from 6 months ago, but... And like I said, he would help me with things. He helped rebuild a couple of items that I had that no longer worked. He helped rebuild a radio for my grandmother that she was able to enjoy for many years. So thank you, Cynthia, for allowing James to come up to the Nitrate Vaults and play with us for all those years. He was just, we will think about him every day. I guarantee you that. Very, very special person, and I'll miss him very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, Rob, and George. And I love, did you pick up in George's story that James did it right, the wiring, he grounded it, he knew that, so it wasn't his fault. I'd like to take this opportunity to ask if someone else would like to speak. Everybody's pointing at Bruce. Bruce, would you like to come down front and share what it was like to work with, I'm going to call him your partner in crime because nobody spent as much time in this building with James as you did, and it's an honor for you to share your stories. I know you weren't real comfortable with speaking, but I love seeing you come down that walkway.
Well, that's okay because I'll do it for James. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I worked with James for 28 years. We sat together face to face every day in a real small office for 28 years. I got to know the man. I got to know the man professionally. And he was all what everybody says he was. He was a genius in his career field. And I saw wisdom, and I became a sponge, and I just tried. And he became a faucet. The problem was that I couldn't retain everything. And I was like, oh God, I can't remember everything. But I hope in 28 years some of that rubbed off on me. James and I worked for the Library of Congress for 28 years, and we were a team. We was in the restoration field, and everything that was done for the Library of Congress in restoration, in chemical films, James and I had a hand in it. No one knows anything about us because that's the way it is. There was no glory in our profession, but we got the glory in just doing, getting paid doing what we were doing. When I met James, he was a nice Southern gentleman from deep South, conservative, and I was a ultra liberal from California in the East Bay. So when they put us together, it was very awkward, very, very awkward. We were certainly the odd couple, but we had and we thought we had nothing in common until we had to work together, and we was talking, and I found out he was the only child. Then I found, and I'm the only child. I found out he had 2 children, a boy and a girl, and I had 2 children, a boy and a girl. Found out that He was an Army combat photographer, and I was an Air Force combat photographer. He loved films, and I loved films. And that was our commonality, because after that, after the years, the walls came down. I got to know James differently than anybody that worked with him, because he showed me a side of him that no one ever saw, maybe Cynthia. And I'm not bragging about it. It was just a fact. He started to be comfortable with me. And as we, over the years, we got gray hair together. We grew gray hair together. We lost our hair together. And over the years, he started confiding in me. And we would be talking about our family. As we worked, restoring film, something we love, we'd be talking about our families and everything. And we got to the point to where sometimes I didn't know if he knew he was talking to Cynthia or he was talking to me. Because, he would come in and he was like, I would be eating breakfast, and he would come in and he'd say, "Oh, I had a heck of a time last night going to the bathroom." And I'm sitting there eating. He said, I want to discuss that with my digestive system with you. And I was like, can I finish eating, James? He said, "Oh, yeah, you can finish eating. We'll talk about it later. Go ahead and finish eating." And I went, "Darn it, James, I'm not hungry now. Thank you very much." And he laughed at me and jiggled his. I think he did it on purpose. But that's how close we got. He would tell me about all his little things. He would tell me the little secrets of the family that I won't go on about. Okay. But he shared with me his children and his wife. See, I had never met Larry. I had never met Ellen. Alyssa? Okay, Alyssa. I've never met Don, and I never met Maya. I met Cynthia a couple times. But I know them very well, because, you see, that's all we talked about. If we weren't talking about motion pictures, we were talking about you guys. And he would say, Alisa? He says, "Hey, she's a world traveler." And he says, "Bruce, look at Alisa in Havana, Cuba." He said, "Look at Lisa in Havana, Cuba." And he's like, "Oh, yeah." And I said, "Oh, yeah, she's wearing some mean Bermuda shorts, too." He said, "Yes." And I said, "Well, where's the Cabana boy?" And he says, "He's probably taking a picture of her right there." And then he would tell me about Larry. He told me about how Larry got locked out the house in the dead of winter in Dayton. You remember that, Larry? He would tell me, he came in one morning and he said, "Bruce, I'm proud of Larry." I said, "Well, why so, James?" He says, "Do you know I have to actually ask him how to fix my computer?" And James was very knowledgeable on electronics and stuff, and so that's admirable, because he says, "I got to ask my son how to fix my computer." And then he says, "You know what, Bruce? That boy done went ahead and got him a good-looking girlfriend. I am so proud of him." He was proud of me. And then there was Don. Donnie this, and Donnie that, and Don. Don's first car, I believe it was a Dodge Dart or either a Volkswagen. I can't really remember. It was a Volkswagen, because he built Volkswagens like they were models. Did he not? He built them, But it was Don this and Don that, and Donnie's in China. He said, and he showed me a picture of Don with the Great Wall of China, okay? And he loved her so much, talked about her all the time. And then Don blessed James with a granddaughter, Maya. It was Maya this and Maya that, and Maya, and Bruce. And Don, every picture that you sent Cynthia, I saw. Every morning, "Bruce, look at it." I remember one that Maya was on the refrigerator and she was holding on to the refrigerator door. I remember that one. And then our latest one was when I sent a picture of her and she was reading a book and she had her legs crossed, and he says, "Look at my little lady." And I said, "Oh, yes, she's a little lady indeed." And he loved you very much. And Cynthia, you were his world. And he talked about you all the time. He told me how he met you. He told me your early days and everything. He would tell me, he says, "Oh man, Cynthia wants to go to the movies tonight." And he said, I don't like that movie she wants to go to. And I said, well, what you going to do, James? He said, I'm going to go to the movie. It was whatever Cynthia wanted to do. Whatever Cynthia wanted to do. And he loved you very much. I was his partner. I knew him like no one else knew him. And I was privileged that he let me in. And I wanted to tell you that he loved you all very much. And just in case that he didn't get a chance to tell you, I'm telling you. He loved you very much. Now, in closing, I didn't expect to be up here this long, excuse me. But in closing, I want to say that it was an honor and pleasure to know James Cozart. Outside this building, his name was Jim. I called him James. He was always be James. He was my confidant. He was my teacher. He was my mentor. He was my comrade in arms, my foxhole buddy, as they say in the Army, my battle buddy, as they say in the Marines, my wingman, as they say in the Air Force, because I was in the Air Force, so I was his wingman. And I'm being his wingman one last time tonight. And I'm covering his 6 for him. It was an honor and pleasure to know you, Jim. I'll never forget you. I'm trying to remember everything you told me, but I can't. But I'm hoping some of it rubbed off on me. Again, it was an honor and a privilege to know your husband and your father and your grandfather.